Chosen one, let's talk about the most twisted family dynamic you've probably ever encountered. The criminal father who literally stole your money, built their entire life off your stolen inheritance, and then had the nerve to claim they made you strong, as if you should be sending them a thank you card for the trauma. These delusional criminals actually convinced themselves that robbing you blind was some kind of gift to your character development, like they deserve a pat on the back for taking what's rightfully yours and calling it parenting. The audacity is astronomical, but their house of cards is about to come crashing down. Every family has its problems, but what you've experienced crosses the line from dysfunction into fraud. The gaslighting you've endured, the financial struggles, that never made sense, the way opportunities seemed to slip through your fingers just when success was within reach. None of that was coincidence. It was strategy. Think about how many times you've wondered why your parent seems to have money for everything except helping you when you're struggling, how they can afford luxury items and comfortable living while watching you stress about rent, student loans, or basic necessities. Most people assume this is just selfish parenting, but sometimes it runs much deeper. Your father figure didn't just fail to provide for you, they actively planned your financial destruction from the beginning. While you were a child, completely dependent and trusting, they were setting up financial instruments that would benefit them at your expense. Insurance policies where they're the beneficiary, legal documents that give them control over money. That should be yours. Financial arrangements that turn your very existence into their profit center. The cruelest part involves how they convinced everyone this was normal, that parents naturally control their children's financial destiny, that your struggles build character, while their comfort is well-deserved. They created a narrative where your poverty serves a purpose, while their wealth remains unquestioned. You've probably felt crazy trying to explain to people why your family situation feels so wrong. Friends with normal parents can't understand why you don't just work things out, or why you can't rely on family support like they do. They don't realize that some parents view their children as resources to be exploited rather than people to be nurtured. The systematic nature of this betrayal explains why you've always felt like something fundamental was missing from your life. Not just money, but the basic security that comes from knowing your family has your back. Instead, you got a family that actively works against your success while claiming they want what's best for you. This part sounds like something from a crime documentary, but it happens more often than you'd think. There's an underground industry that specializes in creating fake death certificates to generate insurance payouts. Your parent legally killed you on paper while keeping you alive in reality, the perfect criminal setup. The process works like this. They take out substantial life insurance policies on you as a child. Then they create fraudulent death certificates and collect the death benefits while you continue living under a new or altered identity. You exist in a legal gray area where you're simultaneously dead for insurance purposes and alive for tax purposes. Every dollar they collected from your death should have been invested in your actual future. Instead, it became their nest egg, the house they live in, the car they drive, the comfortable retirement they're planning, all funded by money they collected by pretending you died. Meanwhile, you struggle with student debt, housing costs, and financial instability. You might have always felt disconnected from your official identity or noticed weird inconsistencies in your legal documents, birth certificates with information that doesn't quite match what you remember, social security records that seem off, insurance policies you never knew existed. These aren't clerical errors, they're evidence of identity manipulation. The psychological impact of this kind of betrayal goes beyond anything most people experience. You've been carrying the subconscious knowledge that something fundamental about your existence doesn't make sense. That feeling of not quite belonging anywhere, of being somehow erased from your own life story, that's not paranoia. That's your intuition recognizing the truth. Remember how your family moved around a lot when you were young? Or how you ended up living with relatives or family friends for extended periods? What seemed like practical arrangements were actually strategic relocations designed to break your connections and hide your trail. Distance from your birthplace meant distance from people who knew your real story. New communities where nobody would question inconsistencies in your background. Fresh environments where your altered identity could take root without suspicious neighbors asking uncomfortable questions about your past. The people who took care of you during these relocations weren't just helping out. They were often paid handlers. They received compensation to monitor your development, report your activities, and intervene if you started asking too many questions about your background. You were surrounded by people whose primary loyalty was to your criminal parent, not to your well-being. Each move also served to disconnect you from ancestral property and inheritance rights. Family land that should have passed to you through bloodline succession. Trust funds established by grandparents who intended their money to benefit their descendants. Investment accounts that were redirected through fraudulent legal maneuvers while you lost touch with your roots. This explains why you've always felt rootless or disconnected from your family history, why you don't have strong ties to any particular place or community, why your family stories never quite add up, or why certain relatives seem uncomfortable when you ask about the past. The geographic instability wasn't coincidence. It was designed to keep you from discovering the truth. Look at the timeline of your parents' financial success. Notice how their prosperity doesn't correlate with any obvious source of increased income. How they acquired property, started businesses, or made investments during periods when their regular job shouldn't have provided that kind of capital. The money had to come from somewhere. Your death benefit became their business capital. They used insurance fraud proceeds to purchase real estate, fund investment portfolios, and establish the generational wealth that should have been your inheritance. The compound growth over decades means they're now sitting on millions of dollars that originated from crimes against your life. Every major purchase they made can likely be traced back to money they stole from you. The family home, vacation properties, business investments, retirement accounts, all funded by proceeds from insurance fraud. They built their entire lifestyle on a foundation of stolen inheritance while you struggled to afford basic necessities. The tax records tell the complete story if anyone bothers to look. They've been paying taxes on investment income generated by money that was never legally theirs. Every tax return filed since your death represents another layer of fraud. The IRS documentation creates an unbreakable chain of evidence connecting their current wealth to the original insurance scam. The most infuriating part involves watching them enjoy luxury while you stress about money. They take expensive vacations while you work multiple jobs. They buy new cars while you drive vehicles that barely run. They plan comfortable retirement while you wonder how you'll ever afford to stop working. All while sitting on wealth that rightfully belongs to you. Hold that thought for a moment. I need your attention for something very important. For the first time, we're revealing everything. We know about personal power, healing yourself and healing others. No filters, no holding back. We have been quietly adding all the occult secrets we've collected over literal years of spiritual practice. The techniques and wisdom that transformed us from controlled pawns into conscious creators are now available to those ready to walk the same path. This is your invitation to join Obsidian Inner Order and support our platform so we can continue growing our megaphone to reach other chosen ones waiting for activation. By joining the Obsidian Inner Order, You're not just gaining access to forbidden knowledge, you're becoming part of a movement that's rewriting reality itself. It's a 360 win for all of us. Link is in the description. You've probably noticed a pattern in your life where success gets sabotaged just when things start going well. The job opportunity that falls through unexpectedly. The relationship that implodes right when it's getting serious. The business venture that fails due to circumstances beyond your control. These aren't coincidences, they're interventions. Your criminal parent monitors your progress through a network of informants. They know when you get promoted, when you start dating someone with potential, when you're accumulating savings, and they deploy countermeasures designed to destabilize your progress before you become too successful to control. The people who create chaos in your life often seem to appear out of nowhere. The toxic boss who makes your work life miserable, the manipulative friend who drains your resources, the romantic partner who promises everything then disappears. These aren't random encounters, they're strategically placed obstacles designed to keep you struggling. Your failure is essential to their continued success because your prosperity would trigger investigations. If you suddenly acquired significant wealth, people would ask questions about where it came from. If you gained influence or recognition, journalists might investigate your background. Your success represents their exposure, so they work constantly to prevent it. This explains why you've always felt like you're swimming upstream while everyone else seems to flow effortlessly through life. Why your hard work doesn't seem to produce the same results as other people's efforts. Why you can overcome obstacles that would destroy most people, but simple successes somehow elude you. The game has been rigged against you from the beginning. The psychological manipulation reaches its peak when they claim credit for your strength. They reframe decades of sabotage as tough love that made you resilient. They twist their crimes into gifts that developed your character. They position themselves as architects of your success rather than the primary obstacle to your progress. You've probably heard variations of this your entire life. I made you strong. You wouldn't be who you are without me. Everything you've accomplished is because of how I raised you. This isn't parental pride, it's criminal audacity. They're taking credit for your survival of their abuse. The twisted logic works like this. Since you managed to succeed despite their interference, they believe their interference was actually beneficial. Your resilience becomes proof of their successful training methods. Your achievements become evidence that their sabotage was somehow necessary for your development. This allows them to sleep at night while continuing their crimes. They've convinced themselves that traumatizing you was character building, that stealing your inheritance taught you self-reliance, that destroying your opportunities made you stronger. The mental gymnastics required to maintain this worldview reveals the depth of their psychological disturbance. The most disturbing aspect involves their expectation of gratitude. They genuinely believe you should thank them for the obstacles they created. They expect appreciation for the trauma they inflicted. They demand recognition for strength you developed while surviving their attacks. The entitlement reaches levels that defy rational explanation. Criminal networks only remain secret as long as everyone benefits equally. When money problems arise or legal pressure increases, loyalty evaporates quickly. The people who helped facilitate your parents' fraud are starting to save themselves by cooperating with authorities. You might have noticed former family friends or associates distancing themselves recently. People who used to be close to your parent suddenly becoming unavailable or uncomfortable. This isn't random social drift. It's self-preservation. They know what's coming, and they're trying to minimize their own liability. Whistleblowers within the organization are breaking decades of silence. The handler who was paid to monitor you during childhood. The insurance agent who processed fraudulent claims. the attorney who helped create false documents, the accountant who managed laundered money. Everyone who participated in the fraud is now a potential witness. The documentation trail tells the complete story once investigators start following it. Bank records showing suspicious deposits that coincide with insurance payouts. Real estate transactions using death benefit funds. Investment portfolios established with fraud proceeds. Business registrations that occurred immediately after collecting your death benefit. Their own success became the evidence that will convict them. The luxury lifestyle funded by your stolen inheritance created a paper trail that investigators can follow. The investment decisions made with your insurance money generated tax records that prove fraud. The generational wealth built on your stolen inheritance provides undeniable evidence of criminal activity. The mask is slipping in your parents' social circles. People who previously admired their success are starting to ask uncomfortable questions about the source of their wealth. Community members who respected them as family leaders are discovering the criminal reality behind their prosperity. Religious organizations that received their donations are learning those contributions were funded by insurance fraud. Social groups that honored them with awards are discovering their success was built on systematic child abuse. The cognitive dissonance is creating massive disruption in communities that previously provided them with respect and admiration. You might notice changes in how extended family members interact with your parent. More distance, fewer invitations, uncomfortable silences when certain topics come up. People are connecting dots they previously ignored. The family dynamics that never quite made sense are finally being seen for what they really are. The public exposure terrifies them more than legal consequences because it destroys the social capital they've spent decades building. Their reputation in the community evaporates when people understand the source of their wealth. Their standing in organizations crumbles when members realize they've been socializing with criminals. Former supporters are distancing themselves to avoid association with the scandal. Business partners are dissolving relationships. Social organizations are revoking memberships. Religious institutions are returning donations. The community rejection they're experiencing mirrors the isolation they inflicted on you throughout your life. Legal mechanisms exist specifically for recovering stolen inheritance. Everything your parent built with money that belongs to you can be reclaimed through civil procedures. The house, the investments, the business assets, all subject to seizure when they were purchased with fraud proceeds. The compound interest and growth on money that should have been yours creates astronomical recovery amounts. What started as insurance fraud has grown into millions of dollars through decades of investment returns. You're not just entitled to the original theft amount, you're entitled to all the profits it generated. Property purchased with your death benefit money becomes subject to legal recovery. Business investments funded by fraud proceeds can be transferred to you. Luxury items bought with stolen inheritance money must be returned or their value compensated. The tentacles of recovery extend throughout their entire financial empire. Recovery. Procedures include not just restitution, but also punitive damages for decades of financial abuse. The legal system recognizes that inheritance fraud represents ongoing harm that compounds over time. Victims are entitled to full compensation plus additional damages for lost opportunities and financial growth. This isn't just about money, it's about justice, about finally having the resources you should have had all along, about being able to build the life you were meant to live instead of constantly struggling to survive, about having the financial security that was stolen from you being restored with interest. Throughout this ordeal, you've probably felt like you were fighting alone against impossible odds. But look at how you've survived things that would have destroyed most people. Look at how evidence keeps surfacing just when you need it. Look at how the right people keep appearing in your life at exactly the right time. Legal advocates who specialize in inheritance fraud seem to find you rather than the other way around. Investigators who understand insurance scams become interested in your case. Financial experts who can trace laundered money offer their services. The help you need materializes with timing that feels almost supernatural. Every attempt they made to destroy you ended up backfiring. Their psychological warfare tactics strengthened your intuition instead of breaking your spirit. Their financial sabotage forced you to develop independence instead of dependence. Their relationship interference protected you from additional manipulation. The synchronicities surrounding your situation reveal forces working on your behalf that transcend ordinary explanation. Evidence that should have been destroyed mysteriously survives. Witnesses who should have remained silent decide to testify. Financial records that should have been lost get discovered in routine audits. Your natural abilities that they tried so hard to suppress are becoming the very tools that expose their crimes. The intuition they attempted to block helps you recognize patterns in their behavior. The independence they work to prevent enables you to pursue justice without their interference. Assets are being seized with mathematical precision. The luxury lifestyle funded by your stolen inheritance is evaporating as investigations intensify. Bank accounts containing your money for decades are being frozen by federal agencies. Real estate purchased with death benefits is becoming subject to forfeiture. The criminal network that facilitated their fraud is turning on each other to minimize their own legal exposure. Former allies are becoming prosecution witnesses. Previous accomplices are providing testimony that implicates higher-level participants. The loyalty that once held their organization together is dissolving under legal pressure. Social isolation is accelerating as their true nature becomes public knowledge. Community members who previously respected them now avoid association. Business relationships are being terminated. Religious organizations are revoking memberships and returning donations. The social capital they spent decades building is disappearing overnight. Their worst nightmare involves losing the wealth they stole from you, and that nightmare is becoming reality with unstoppable momentum. Investment portfolios built on fraud are being transferred to your control. Property purchased with stolen money is being seized for victim compensation. Business assets funded by your inheritance are being liquidated to pay restitution. The financial empire they built on your stolen foundation is collapsing with the same systematic precision they used to construct it. Every luxury gets repossessed. Every investment gets reversed. Every asset gets transferred to its rightful owner. The reversal operates with perfect mathematical balance. Your struggles were artificially created obstacles designed to prevent you from claiming your rightful position. The financial difficulties weren't personal failures. They were manufactured. Poverty imposed by criminals who stole your inheritance. The relationship problems weren't character flaws. They were strategic interference deployed to keep you isolated. Your natural abilities were systematically suppressed to maintain their criminal enterprise. The intuition they tried to block. The independence they worked to prevent. The prosperity they consistently sabotaged. Every gift you possess represented a threat to their fraudulent foundation. The financial freedom that comes with inheritance recovery will restore your natural position. Money that should have been yours for decades is finally returning with compound interest. Property that rightfully belongs to you is being transferred back to your control. Investments stolen from your future are being restored with appreciation. Your success was always inevitable, despite their interference, because your protection operates on levels they can't perceive or counteract. The forces ensuring your vindication transcend their criminal capabilities. The justice working on your behalf operates with intelligence that exceeds their fraudulent planning. You were never broken. You were stolen from. Your resilience wasn't developed through their abuse. It was revealed despite their attempts to destroy it. Your strength doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you and always has. Your survival isn't their achievement. It's your victory over their systematic efforts to eliminate you. The moment of recognition arrives when you finally understand that every skill you developed, every insight you gained, every boundary you learned to set came from your own inner wisdom fighting to protect you. Their interference didn't create your strength. It revealed the depth of power that was always yours. The difference between surviving and thriving becomes clear when you realize that thriving was your natural state before they intervened to prevent it. The criminal parent who claimed they made you is about to discover what happens when divine justice manifests through earthly courts. Every dollar they stole returns to you multiplied. Every obstacle they created becomes evidence against them. Every lie they told becomes testimony for your vindication. Your true life is just beginning, and this time you're building it on the solid foundation of reclaimed inheritance rather than the shifting sands of manufactured struggle.